Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And good to see you again, Chairman Bernanke. Thank you for your service. I want to continue some of the line that my colleagues have asked. And I want to echo what Senator Enzi said and appreciate your support for the notion of going big and recognizing we've got to have a comprehensive deficit reduction plan. I personally believe that we should confound conventional wisdom and not punt this until after the next election cycle. I still find it, as a business guy, would be hard for me to explain to my shareholders if my company was in dire financial straits and I said to them, we've got a plan and I'm going to get back to you in the spring of 2013, when none of this is self-corrective in the meantime. I guess what I would like to follow up, though, on the comments made about Europe, I would add that, well, Senator Enzi made the point that a number of them have austerity plans. I believe every one of those countries, while they've had cutbacks, have also included increased revenues in their mix. And that's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
But what we've seen, as somebody personally who's been very interested, for example, in what's gone on in the UK, do you have any advice for us, lessons learned, if we were to put a plan in place on a phasing in of whether it's revenue increases or dramatic cutbacks on spending? You know, are there metrics we should look at on how we phase those in? Should they be phased in over a time frame or based upon economic recovery metrics?
Well, that's a judgment. I think the important thing is to recognize that this is a very long-term problem. It doesn't have to be done all today. On the other hand, gesturing, towards the future without taking any concrete steps or any credible steps is not going to be effective either. So I think the more you can demonstrate a will and commitment to sustainability over the longer term, and by which I mean at least 10 years, but beyond that, if possible, the more flexibility there will be to address near-term concerns relating to the recovery and so on over the next 2 or 3 years. But you need both. You need both. I think, once again, I agree with Senator Sessions that just simply promising, future action is risks, at least, an adverse market reaction, adverse reaction in terms of confidence and so on. It's the combination which I think could be effective. Again, the near term, we're looking still at a couple more years of recovery. But I think that there's nothing that stops us from very soon also laying out in some detail and with some commitment what the longer term plan is to address the fiscal problem.
Well, in advance of us passing that long-term plan, one thing that would be at least helpful to me, if it might be easier for you to comment about what those benchmarks ought to be, regardless of whether it's revenue increases or spending cuts, when they ought to be phased in. Let me follow up on a line Senator Cornyn raised about unemployment, and I agree we've got to do more things. I think one of the interesting points we've got right now, it seems like America's rallying cry a little bit right now is at least we're better than the EU, which doesn't exactly stand in terms of, give me liberty or give me death, as an American statement. But one of the things that we have by this kind of unique circumstances, even with our challenges, obviously enormous capital coming into our system, where we're close to zero or even negative real rates of return for that capital coming in. Have you given any thought? One area that I think there is bipartisan consensus on is that we have been dramatically underestimating or underinvesting in our infrastructure, broadly based. And that is what used to be a competitive advantage is turning into a competitive disadvantage. And with private and foreign capital sitting on the sidelines, have you or your entities looked at all at any of the infrastructure bank proposals out there? We have a bipartisan one that does not create additional grants, is not a next generation GSC. It is more a loan support modeled after OPEC or XM, and that might be able to get some of that capital that's rushing in off the sidelines into what would help on both the employment standpoint and long-term?
No, I haven't looked at the infrastructure bank in detail, and I'm, again, a little bit leery of taking positions. But I would make the following point, which is that much of the deficit discussion has been about total revenue and total spending. That's only the first cut. Beyond that, we have to ask ourselves, is the tax code efficient, effective, fair, simple, et cetera? And on the spending side, are we spending in ways that are effective? We don't want to build useless monuments. We want to make investments, whether it's in people or in infrastructure or whatever, that are going to pay a return.
You've got to have a growth component. You can't cut
Take it from a business perspective. You're much better off making productive investments.
Senator Toomey.